I thought I knew what betrayal looked like. I thought I'd seen it in the faces of men who lied to their wives, in the emails they deleted, in the hotel rooms they paid for with cash. But I'd never seen it fall out of a jacket pocket and hit the floor like a death sentence. Not until that morning. Not until Daniel Park came home wearing someone else's perfume and dropped a velvet box at my feet. Hey, thanks for being here. Whether you're new to the channel or you've been riding with us from day one, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. This is where we tell stories that hit home, stories about power, secrets, and the people who see everything. If that sounds like your kind of vibe, you might want to stick around. Just saying. The park residence sat on the cliffs of Malibu like it owned the ocean. Glass walls, white stone. Every surface so clean it reflected the California sun like a mirror. Daniel Park built this house the way he built everything else in his life. Calculated, controlled, and cold. He liked order. He liked silence. He liked people who stayed in their place. That's why he hired maids, not to talk to ignore. I'd been in his house for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of moving through rooms like a shadow, dusting shelves, polishing glass, watching. My name is Hana Lee, but Daniel Park never asked. To him, I was just the maid. Mid-30s, quiet, Korean accent soft enough to blend into the background. I wore the uniform. I kept my head down. I cleaned his messes and stayed invisible. Daniel passed me in the hallway that morning without looking. He never looked. I could have been a piece of furniture for all he cared. He dropped his coffee cup on the marble counter and walked away. Left his jacket on the couch, tossed his shoes near the door. I picked them up. I always pick them up. That's what invisible people do. His wife, Grace Park, was in New York. Business trip. That's what Daniel told his assistant. That's what he told the housekeeper who came twice a week. That's what he told himself, probably. Grace ran her family's import business. Smart, capable, always traveling. Daniel liked that about her. It gave him space to do things he shouldn't. For 3 nights, Daniel didn't come home. The first night, his assistant called. Mr. Park won't be home. Urgent business in the city. I was watering the orchids in the foyer when the call came through. The second night, same message. The third night, I didn't need the message. I'd already checked his calendar. No meetings, no business trips, nothing. On the fourth morning, Daniel came home. He looked different. Relaxed. His shirt was wrinkled in a way expensive shirts shouldn't be. His hair, always perfect, showed signs of hands running through it. He smelled like perfume, not Grace's. He walked past me without a word, tossed his jacket on the couch, and that's when it happened. The velvet box hit the floor. Soft thud. Dark blue against white marble. Daniel didn't notice. He was already walking away, phone pressed to his ear, barking something about quarterly projections. I stood there, shears in one hand, fresh flowers in the other, staring at that box like it was a bomb. Because in a way, it was. I waited until his footsteps disappeared down the hall, until the sound of his voice faded into his study, until the house settled back into its expensive silence. Then I set down the flowers, pulled on my cleaning gloves, and picked up the box. My hands didn't shake. They never did. Not anymore. I opened it. The diamond caught the light immediately. Custom cut. Flawless clarity. The kind of ring that costs more than most people make in a year, maybe 2 years. I'd seen rings like this before, in evidence files, in divorce proceedings. In the moments right before everything collapsed, this wasn't just jewelry. This was a confession. I turned the ring slightly. There, inside the band. Serial number. Tiny. Etched so small you'd miss it unless you knew to look. But I knew to look. I always knew to look. My memory captured the sequence like a photograph. 12 digits. Letters and numbers. Registered. Traceable. Stupid. I placed the box back in his jacket pocket. Exactly where it fell from. Adjusted the fabric so it looked undisturbed. Then I went back to arranging flowers like nothing happened. White lilies. Daniel's favorite. Grace always requested them before she traveled. A reminder of home, she'd said once. I wondered if she knew her husband was planning to give another woman the kind of ring she never got. 20 minutes later, Daniel came back, grabbed his jacket, checked his phone, left again without a word. The velvet box stayed in his pocket. Safe. Secret. For now. I watched him drive away in his black Mercedes, watched the gate close behind him. Then I pulled out my burner phone. The number I dialed wasn't saved. Never saved. I memorized it the way I memorized everything else. It rang twice. Yes, I said quietly. He bought it. The voice on the other end was professional, clinical, Grace's brother, attorney, the one who hired me. You're certain? I'm holding the serial number in my head right now. 3 nights ago, I continued. It matches the purchase we flagged last month. Shell company? Yes, same one linked to the offshore accounts. Pause. I could hear him typing, running the numbers, cross-referencing databases I didn't have access to but knew existed. Good work, Hannah. I'll have documentation by tomorrow. He leaves for the office at 8. Be careful. I'm always careful. I hung up, changed into my regular clothes. Jeans, plain shirt. Nothing that screamed investigator. Nothing that screamed anything. That's the job. Be nobody. See everything. I'd been doing this for 7 years. High net worth cases, cheating spouses, hidden assets. I was good at it because I understood something most people don't. Rich men don't see the help. Grace Park hired me through her family. Not directly. Never directly. Her brother made the arrangements, vetted me, checked my credentials. Forensic accounting degree, private investigator license, specialty in cross-border financial fraud, fluent in Korean corporate structures and American tax law. I'd worked cases in 3 countries, recovered millions, destroyed men who thought they were untouchable. This was just another job. Except it wasn't. Grace didn't know I existed. Not yet. Her brother wanted it that way. Plausible deniability. If Daniel found out about the investigation before we had everything, Grace could claim ignorance. Could say her family acted without her knowledge. Could protect herself. Smart. I respected that, so I stayed invisible. Cleaned Daniel's house. Listened to his lies. And built the case that would destroy him. 2 days passed, Daniel acted like nothing changed. Conference calls, business lunches, evening drinks with investors. But I noticed things. The way he checked his phone constantly, the smile that crept across his face when certain messages came through. The cologne he wore, different now, expensive, deliberate. He was preparing for something. Someone. I photographed everything. His calendar while he showered. Credit card statements left open on his laptop. Receipts in his car. The camera was disguised as a button on my uniform. Click, high resolution, time-stamped. Every image uploaded automatically to an encrypted server the moment I returned to the staff quarters. Daniel had no idea his entire life was being documented, frame by frame. On the 3rd day, Daniel left early, showered longer than usual, wore his best suit, the Tom Ford one Grace bought him for their anniversary. I watched him check himself in the hallway mirror, adjust his tie, smooth his hair. He looked nervous, excited, like a man about to change his life. He was right about that part, just not the way he thought. I tracked his location through the car's GPS. Basic hack. Took me 15 minutes to access 3 weeks ago. He drove to Beverly Hills, stopped at a restaurant called Catch. High-end, celebrity spotting, paparazzi outside. The kind of place you go when you want to be seen. Or when you want someone specific to see you. I pulled up the reservation system, table for 2, under a name that wasn't his. Quick pause. If you're getting invested in this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Her name was Sophia Chen. 28, marketing consultant. At least that's what her LinkedIn said. Her Instagram told a different story. Luxury hotels, designer bags, private jets, yacht parties. The kind of lifestyle you don't maintain on a consultant's salary. She had a type, older, wealthy, married. Daniel was exactly that. I ran a full background check. Sophia had been linked to 3 wealthy men in the past 2 years. All ended badly. 1 divorce, 1 bankruptcy, 1 restraining order. She knew how to play the game. Find a man with money and problems. Become the solution to his problems. Wait for him to leave his wife. Cash out. Daniel thought he was special. He wasn't. At exactly 7 p.m., Daniel posted a photo. Rare for him. He usually avoided social media, but there it was. Him and Sophia, champagne glasses raised, her hand extended across the table, the diamond ring catching every light in the restaurant. The caption was simple. New beginnings. I screenshot it, sent it to Grace's brother, attached the serial number, attached the purchase records, attached everything. The brother called me 6 minutes later. We have him. His voice was different, satisfied, cold. The ring ties to the shell company? Perfectly. He used corporate funds, claimed it as a business expense. I almost laughed. Almost. Grace needs to know, he said. Tonight? Tomorrow. I want everything compiled first. Every document, every photo, every transaction. You'll have it by morning. Hannah, this is excellent work. It's what you paid for. I worked through the night, compiled 6 weeks of evidence into a single file, photographs organized by date, audio recordings transcribed and time-stamped, financial documents cross-referenced with bank statements, the shell company Daniel created to hide assets, the offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, the falsified tax returns, the ring purchase that connected everything. It was beautiful, airtight, devastating. At 6 a.m., I sent the file, encrypted, password protected, 300 pages, 52 audio clips, 214 photographs. Grace's brother confirmed receipt 7 minutes later. We're moving forward. Grace will be briefed this afternoon. What about me? Stay in position, act normal. We need 1 more week. For what? To freeze his accounts before he runs. Smart. Daniel would run. Men like him always did. Daniel came home that afternoon drunk on happiness, humming. Actually humming. He loosened his tie as he walked through the door, tossed his keys on the counter, didn't see me standing there with fresh linens. Good day, Mr. Park, I asked, neutral, polite. He glanced at me like he'd forgotten I could speak. Best day of my life, he said, then walked upstairs. I folded the linen slowly, counted to 60, let him get comfortable in his delusion. That evening, Sophia called him. I heard it through the audio device I'd planted in his study. Baby, I've been thinking about the wedding. His laugh, deep, relaxed. We just got engaged yesterday. I know, but I want it perfect. Small, intimate, maybe Italy. Whatever you want. Really? Really, money's not an issue. Pause. What about Grace? His voice changed, colder. Grace is handled. My lawyers are preparing everything. She'll sign. They always do. They always do. Those 3 words told me everything about Daniel Park. This wasn't his first affair, just his first proposal. He'd cheated before, probably multiple times. Grace probably knew, probably forgave him, probably tried to make it work. But this was different. This was him leaving and taking everything with him. Or so he thought. Grace arrived home 2 days later, early morning flight from New York. She looked tired, professional but worn. Pulling her suitcase through the door, Daniel was still asleep upstairs. She saw me in the kitchen. Good morning, Hannah. She knew my name. That surprised me. Good morning, Mrs. Park. Coffee? Please. Strong. I poured it. Watched her sit at the island. Watched her stare at nothing. She already knew. Her brother had told her. How long have you been here, Hannah? Her voice was quiet, controlled. 6 weeks, Mrs. Park. And you've seen everything. Not a question, a statement. I met her eyes. Yes, ma'am. She nodded slowly, sipped her coffee. Thank you for being thorough. It's my job. No, she said. Your job was to clean. You did much more than that. Silence stretched between us. He deserves what's coming, I said. Grace smiled, sad, resigned. Yes, he does. Daniel came downstairs 20 minutes later, saw Grace. His face flickered. Surprise, guilt, then smooth indifference. You're back early. Finished ahead of schedule. He kissed her cheek, mechanical, obligatory. Good trip? Productive? She didn't ask about his week, didn't ask where he'd been, didn't ask about the ring or Sophia or the lies. She just drank her coffee and watched him pretend. 3 days later, Daniel was served. He was in a board meeting, presenting quarterly projections to investors, confident, polished. His assistant knocked on the glass door. Once, twice. Her face pale. Daniel ignored her the first time. The second time, he excused himself. Annoyed. Walked into the hallway. 2 men in suits. Courier envelope. Daniel Park? Yes. You've been served. Divorce. Fraud. Breach of fiduciary duty. Asset concealment. Tax evasion across 2 jurisdictions. The words blurred on the page. Daniel's hands started shaking. He looked up. The process servers were already walking away. His assistant stood frozen. Cancel the rest of my meetings, he said. His voice barely worked. Mr. Park? Cancel them, now. He stumbled toward his office, the envelope clutched in his hand like evidence of his own execution. Within an hour, his accounts were frozen. Personal, business, offshore, everything. Grace's legal team moved fast. Emergency injunctions, court orders, forensic audits. The shell company he created was exposed. Every transaction traced. Every lie documented. The ring purchase appeared on page 47, itemized, categorized as corporate expense. Fraud in black and white. Daniel called his lawyers. They were sympathetic, professional, useless. The evidence is extensive, Mr. Park. There has to be something. We're reviewing everything, but I'll be honest. This is comprehensive. Someone spent months building this case. Who? We don't know yet. But they had access to your personal records, your home, your financial data. Daniel's face went white. My home? Someone inside your household. That's our assessment. His investors called next. One by one. Pulling funding, terminating partnerships, distancing themselves. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. By evening, Daniel received a formal letter. Suspended pending investigation. His shares frozen. His position under review. 30 years building an empire, gone in 6 hours. All because of a ring, all because someone watched. Sophia stopped answering his calls. First one went to voicemail, second one rang once, then disconnected. Third one went straight to voicemail. By the fourth, her number was blocked. He tried Instagram. Her account was private now. The engagement post deleted. He tried her apartment. The doorman wouldn't let him up. Ms. Chen is unavailable. I'm her fiancé. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Real quick, if this story is hitting different, do me a favor and subscribe. Stories like this don't tell themselves. I was there, at the courthouse, 3 weeks after Daniel was served, sitting behind Grace in the gallery. No uniform this time, black dress, simple jewelry, professional. Grace wore navy, tailored, perfect. She walked in like she owned the room, because in a way she did. She had the evidence, she had the truth, she had everything. Daniel's eyes swept the courtroom, looking for allies, finding none. Then he saw me. His eyes stopped, narrowed. Recognition flickered. Not of my name. He never knew that, but of my face. The maid. The woman who cleaned his floors. The ghost he never noticed. I held his gaze. Didn't blink. Didn't look away. Let him understand exactly what happened. During the recess, Daniel approached me. His lawyer tried to stop him. He shook him off, walked straight to where I stood in the hallway. His face was different now, hollow, desperate. Who are you? He whispered, his voice cracked, raw. I met his eyes without flinching. The woman you never saw. He stared at me, processing, understanding flooding his features. You were in my house? Yes. You. His voice failed him. You set me up, he finally said. The accusation hung between us. I tilted my head slightly, almost amused. No, Mr. Park, I just watched. You spied on me? I observed. There's a difference. You had no right. Your wife had every right. I worked for her family. His face crumpled, the realization hitting harder. Grace knew? Eventually, after I gave her brother enough evidence. How long? 6 weeks. He stumbled backward, like I'd physically pushed him. Everything I said, everything I did, recorded, documented, time-stamped. His breathing quickened, panic setting in. The ring? You saw the ring? I saw everything, Mr. Park. That's what you paid me to do. Clean your house. Be invisible. Not exist. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. You were right. I didn't exist. Not to you. That's why you never noticed the camera, the audio devices, the files disappearing from your office. You destroyed my life. I shook my head. You destroyed your life. I just made sure everyone could see it. His lawyer pulled him away. The bailiff called everyone back. Daniel walked into that courtroom a different man than the one who left. Defeated, exposed, small. The hearing lasted 2 hours. Grace's lawyers presented everything: the photographs, the financial records, the audio recordings of Daniel planning his exit, planning his new life with Sophia, using marital assets to fund his affair. Daniel's lawyer tried, made arguments about privacy, illegal surveillance, entrapment. The judge wasn't buying it. "Mr. Park," the judge said. Her voice cut through the arguments, sharp, final. "The evidence shows a deliberate pattern of asset concealment and fraud. You used corporate funds for personal expenses. You created shell companies to hide marital assets. You committed perjury during your prenuptial proceedings." Daniel said nothing. There was nothing to say. "I'm granting Mrs. Park's petition for divorce. Additionally, I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all your financial holdings." The gavel struck. The sound echoed. Daniel Park was finished. Grace won everything. The house. Half of all marital assets once they were recovered. Full disclosure of the offshore accounts. A settlement that reflected not just the marriage, but Daniel's betrayal. She didn't celebrate, didn't smile, didn't gloat. She simply stood, shook her lawyer's hands, walked out of the courthouse with her head high. Daniel watched her leave, watched his entire world walk away, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. 2 weeks later, I returned my uniform. The domestic agency thanked me for my service, asked if I wanted another placement. I declined. This case was done. Grace had asked to meet me. Coffee shop in Santa Monica, small, quiet, away from Malibu, away from the glass house on the cliffs, away from everything Daniel built. She was already there when I arrived. 2 cups on the table. She'd ordered for me. Remembered how I took my coffee. "Thank you," Grace said. Simple, sincere. I stirred cream into my coffee. "You're welcome. My brother told me everything you did, the risks you took. It's what you paid for." "No," she said firmly. "We paid for surveillance. You gave us justice." Silence settled between us, comfortable, understanding. "You destroyed him without ever raising your voice," Grace continued. Wonder in her tone. I smiled, sad, knowing. Men like him destroy themselves. They just need someone to watch closely. Daniel Park thought power made him invisible. He thought money could hide his secrets, that status would insulate him from consequences, that the people he ignored didn't matter. He was wrong. And yet it was the woman he never looked at twice. The woman who cleaned his floors and arranged his flowers and moved through his life like a shadow. Who made sure everything fell apart. Not with violence, not with vengeance, but with patience, precision, and the quiet certainty that truth eventually always finds the light. Grace rebuilt her life. Stronger, wiser, free. Daniel lost everything. The house sold. The company ousted him. The offshore account seized. Sophia disappeared completely. Last I heard, he was in a 1-bedroom apartment in the valley, driving a used car, working consulting jobs. Invisible now in a way he never was before. Not because of power, but because of shame. I moved on to the next case. Another wealthy man, another set of lies, another house where I'd become invisible. Because that's what I do. I watch, I listen. Mine I remember, and when the time is right, I make sure the truth comes out. Never underestimate the quiet ones. They see everything. If you made it this far, you're definitely the type who needs to subscribe. Hit that button, drop a comment, let me know what you thought, and stick around because there are plenty more stories where this came from. Stories about people who thought they'd never get caught until they did. See you in the next one.